Today I want to talk to you about doing things the right way from the beginning. And I want to start with a story. Recently I started working out, and I haven't worked out or lifted weights in a really long time. Well, first of all, my arms are all floppy and feel like jello right now, but that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is, so I started going to the Y. I probably started doing this about 2 months ago. No, it wasn't quite that much. I'm being nice about that. It's probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. Anyway, so I start going to the Y, and it's funny, after you go to the gym on a regular basis for any amount of time, you start to notice some things, and especially about the Y. The Y has a very unique feel to it, right? The Y where I go, my particular Y, it caters to, we've got everyone from, high school and college kids to, to 70, 80-year-old folks who are trying to stay in shape, to everyone in between. We got all sorts of types of people there. And it's just interesting to me when you're there that you've got like one guy who, he's got like the weight belt on, and he's got like 15 different dumbbells sitting around his seat, and you never actually see him lifting any weights, but that's what he's doing. In fact, that's a true story. One guy came up to this guy today and was like, "Are you actually going to do anything here? Because I'd really like to use this piece of equipment." And then you got the other guy on the other end of the spectrum. You got this, really older gentleman who puts like 100 pounds on this machine, and he's pushing down, and he can barely get the thing down, but he really wants to have that 100 pounds that he's pushing. It's just interesting to me, all the different people at the Y. And then you got me, who's like struggling with like 5-pound weights. Anyway, so what is the point of this story? The point is that when you go to the Y, there's lots of different tools. There's lots of different pieces of equipment. There's lots of different weights. There's lots of different exercises that you can do for a lot of different purposes, right? So if you're trying to rehab an injury, you're going to use certain weights for one thing. If you are trying to get faster and stronger, you might use a different set of weights for a different thing. And so you see people doing all sorts of different things at the Y that don't necessarily aren't anything that you would do. And some exercises you've never seen before in your life, and you've never even tried. Just like that kind of older gentleman who was really struggling with like way too much weight. You can also, when you're working out at the Y, you can also do it wrong, right? You can be very well intentioned, and you've got all this equipment at your disposal, but if you don't do it right, if you don't do it the right way, then you're not going to get anywhere. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm using actually an app with a personal trainer. So there actually is a physical person who I talk to, I message back and forth, who teaches me what to do, how to do it, how much weight to use, different things like that. So I actually have a coach working me through this. A lot of people don't have coaches, and they go into this and I don't know if they just do the first thing they see, or if they have a set routine that they've been doing for 50 years, or what the deal is, or maybe something they've learned from their high school coach or their college coach, or a significant other or something like that. But you see a lot of people that are doing things, but they're not necessarily doing it the right way. The same can be true when it comes to the legal aspects of protecting your business, right? There's so many different ways to protect your business. And one of the most common questions I get from people is, what's the number one thing I can do to protect my business? How can I do that? It's really a faulty question, right? Because it's not accurate. There isn't one thing you can do to protect your business. There's lots of things you need to do to protect your business. And if you're going about it and you're doing it the wrong way, like you might go to set up an LLC, but if you use the wrong name, or you don't use the right address, or you don't properly manage your LLC after you've got it set up, there's lots of things that you can do that are going to make things potentially go wrong for you later on down the road. Or, let's say you want to protect your intellectual property, and so you want to apply for a trademark. But again, if you do it the wrong way, if you use the wrong class, if you don't follow the right description, if you don't do a search before you start this whole process, you can really mess that up. And eventually you're just costing yourself time in the long run. You know, just like if you go to the Y and you're doing the wrong exercises and you're not doing them the right way, you know, your goal for going there is to get stronger, rehab an injury, gain more muscle, lose more fat, whatever it might be. You might be going there if you're doing 6 months at the Y and you're not doing the exercises the way you're supposed to be doing them, then you're never going to get the results you want to see. And so the same is true with your legal. And so if you're doing the legal stuff and you're doing it on your own, make sure that you know what you're doing. And sometimes that means getting a coach, sometimes that means hiring a lawyer, sometimes that means purchasing a course. Whatever that might be, you need to make sure that you're doing things the right way to make sure that you're set up for success in the long term. Take care.